Welcome back to Rapid Motion Dirtworks. We're carrying on our coverage from the Kalahari 400, and we've seen the bikes. It's now quad time, and man, you're going to see some high speed now.
Hopefully the gearing has been sorted out on these bikes, because there are some high speed spots that they're going to have to go flat out in. Top contenders this season have been Flippy Bart and Brian Baragwanath.
Well, Brian, it's been a pretty bad luck year for you, and now you're on top of time trial, but you need a finish today.
Absolutely, that's where we want to keep it. Bike's working well, loving the setup, thanks to PP and Lone Star. I can't complain. I'm looking for a good result today.
You're chasing in the championship now. Is that playing in your head at all when you start this race today?
Absolutely. We want to finish, and we want to finish first today.
Suspension going to be a major setup today with all that whip section, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. Suspension's a big deal, motor's a big deal. It's a very fast event, but when it gets technical, you've got to make it count.
Time trial, and it was all about Brian Baragwanath, but a big surprise as Damien Lee got up into second place ahead of Flippy Bart.
Damien, you coming good this year with consistency in time trials and in the races. Tell us what your trick is this year.
Just decided to ride at my own pace, not push myself too hard, and take it easy and just judge the corners carefully.
It's going to be a pretty quick race today with a lot of sand and whoops. Suspension going to be a major setup today.
Yes, my PEP shocks, but done by EMD Racing, worked phenomenally yesterday. They were absolutely amazing.
So what are you expecting out there today?
Long grass, fast, thick sand, and it's going to be fun.
Flippy, desert racing is what you're used to, and this is desert racing, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yesterday was a lot of fun. Very fast sections, but we enjoyed it, and we'll see how today it turns out.
Leading the championship, but you got Brian in front of you now on time trial. Is that going to be a hard thing to catch?
Well, I don't know. I think today it's not a race that you want to start in front. The grass is going to be long, and then again 400 k's is very, very long.
First two loops on one loop, and then you go into the next. Is it all about consistency throughout the race?
Well, I'm going to try to be consistent. I'm just going to try and finish good and enjoy myself.
So as we saw in the bikes, it's Bidvest Yamaha leading out. Brian Baragwanath needs to take a win here, but he's going to have some big guys chasing him down.
Lots of competition coming his way as well. Watch out for the two Hondas behind him. As you said, a big, impressive ride from the Amsoil man. He's up into second place after the time trial. He's going to be closed down very quickly by Flippy.
Duplessis and then Busman. Now, Busman looks like he really wants it, and this is classic Busman territory. Flat out and just pinned.
Everything she's got. Duplessis. It's like we've missed the front two leaders there, or what's happened? We've got no Brian. Brian's gone missing. Duplessis leads out. Flippy's up in a second, so Brian has had a problem early on.
We saw this with the bikes. Crossing these fences causes a lot of problems, and Brian has wound up almost an entire fence into his back wheel. We're going to have to see what he can do. We know he can come from behind, but this is going to be a big ask.
Riders coming through here thick and fast. We saw Sorrel van Biljoen. Swanepoel's in there. Right behind him comes Cornell Connemeyer. And look at that, Hannes Simon right up there and in contention right from the word go.
He had a good qualifier, and on this track, on these kind of events, you so need a good qualifier. And check out the Masked Bandit, Vic Zebra, all the way up there, and a new helmet, looks funky.
And he's second place in the seniors, just behind Sorrel van Biljoen, who went through a couple of bikes ago. But remember, this is the first lap, and it's pretty much just some big grass cutting going on now. The leaders are showing the rest of the field how to get around.
Yeah, it's only for the brave out front. I definitely wouldn't want to be out there. Just want to follow the guys, learn the track, and check where everything is lying. We saw Jaco Fender go through there. Ferreira was just ahead of him. Jackie Antigua, Chris Fell, and Vince.
Big Vince coming through. And our first of our masters. And who do we see? Oh, who do we expect to see? Yuri Meyer, as always.
Fastest old man on the Yamaha, absolutely pinned. Gideon Reinecker, he's looking pretty decent as well, and Chris van der Veste is not a great qualifier for him, but he should be able to get his way up there on the open class quad.
Around Stander and flying through here, absolutely awesome stuff. As you said, Gideon Reinecker going to make his way through. Remember, what is this, AMA? The AMA Supercross out here. Flippy Bart leads out. He's got these boys right on his tail. Duplessis and Busman. And it looks like Duplessis got stuck in some mud somewhere.
Yeah, it looks like Flippy's pretty happy to be out front because he's not taking any of the roost off the rest of these guys. And check out Jackie Antigua. He's actually bridged the gap, and he is running in the front bunch. That's good for the junior step-up.
Who else is not running in the front bunch here? Look at these guys. They're absolutely pinned together here. You can throw a proverbial blanket over the first 10 riders there.
Yeah, there's no bunch. It's just the entire race is out there. So just look at the freight train heading out. That Marshall point is going to be crazy. That poor guy's going to run out of ink in the first 5 minutes.
He is. Zebra's caught up onto the back end of them now, so he's also caught up onto the back end of Sorrel van Biljoen. So the senior battle is also in those front 12 bikes that are split by less than 4 or 5 seconds.
Yeah, the first bit of air is actually Jaco Fenter, and poor guy, he missed the invite to the front group.
It'll be in the mail though, don't worry. You can get it when you get back and download your email.
And then Chris van der Westhuizen, remember, he's running in the open class, so when we get into the open sections where you can really stretch the legs, that big Honda is going to be firing.
Vince Lopeshaw right on his tail. Remember, he's just come back from getting married. Then he got Chris Fell behind him. And Yuri Meyer, well, he got the email. He's up there.
Fell looked like he had some goggle issues, so he'll be praying that he can get out there and get them swapped out, because it's going to be a huge problem. Not necessarily for the roost, but you're just traveling so fast. If you get an eye whip from one of those bits of grass even, it's going to hurt, man.
That Gideon Reinicke on the Honda. Here comes Brian. So he sorted out the problem, cut the fence out of the back wheels, and now back on the pace. But a lot of ground to make up. Well, I say a lot of ground. They're not that far up ahead, so with still probably about 360 odd Ks to go, there's enough time for him to catch up.
Probably only lost around about 5 minutes. He's a good mechanic as well, so he'll know how to work on his bike out there on the trails. And this is where Brian is dangerous. Normally when he's leading out front, he won't give it everything. He'll kind of cruise and ride about an 80% pace. Now it's going to be 110 the whole way.
Jose Roxy dos Santos flying into sight for the first time today. Factory Racing Man.
Senior rider as well, so watch out for him to close things down. He should be up there in the points.
These guys are coming through here now and looking pretty good, but remember, there is still a long, long way to go. Just behind, picking up on the riders as they come through. Looks like that's Brendan van Staden. And behind him, some really good, I was about to say, really big riders. And there it is, speaking of the bigger riders, Kubus Visser, first of the 4x4s.
Not a track that's necessarily going to suit the 4x4s, plenty of power, but it's going to be hard to keep it wound up because the gearing is pretty tight on those things. He'll have to do a lot of spanner work in the off-season. Sorry, not between the races, should I say.
Second of the Santos is Tony, and then right behind comes the first of the ladies, Melissa van Rensburg. She's running high up. That's really good to see on her Synergy quad.
Running ladies and Q1, so she wants a fistful of dollars after this race, and Busman has taken his turn out front. These riders are just, it's like a cycling race. You just take your turn at the front and take a bit of roost at the back. There's going to be nothing to decide between these guys, and Sorrel Valbunion, just the last rider in that bunch as well.
So Hannah Simon might have had a problem going over the bars there. Looks like his peak was gone. And also a bit of mud. Behind him comes Williams.
Yeah, he's on the comeback trail. He didn't have a great qualifier, so he's flying out there. Swanepoel just behind him. Then Conor Meyer, one of the junior step-ups. But the real story is to see how far Brian is. He hasn't quite linked onto this group yet.
Water Ride Racing being represented there by Cornell Conor Meyer. Behind him, it's like Erasmus. And then Peterson.
How's that?
Nicely done.
Just pulls the hands off, even though he's got hand guards, didn't want to take, because those are thorn trees, man. They'll rip you apart.
Yeah, well, Zebra's not worried about it. Jeez, he just went through there absolutely full tilt.
Jaco Venter just falling off the pace here ever so slightly. Sweet line through the gap there. I want to see if Brian's just going to surf his way through the puddles. He'll be flying by the time he gets to this point.
Chris van der Westhuizen, leading open rider on the Honda. No hassles at all for him. I mean, he's just going to take it easy. He's not worried about the battle in front of him because there's just seniors and 450 riders in front.
Chris Fowle sorted out his goggle situation, so he's got some new eyewear happening there. Yuri Meyer, the master and the master of quad riding, but who's behind? It's Vince and the danger man. Here comes Brian.
I think Vince saw him coming, just moved out the way, realized it was Brian. Good move there. Good stablemate work from the two Yamaha boys.
Brian is absolutely flying now, and it's not too far before he actually catches that lead bunch. So we're going to see some changes up from the aggressive Bidvest Yamaha man.
Loving the fact that Reinicke and Stander on the CDV machines are starting to come through, and might even be a factor by the end of the race.
Stander was the last man to come through shot there, and Brian Baragwanath has done the unthinkable. Drop back 5 minutes, close the gap, and now he leads because this is the kind of track that suits him. He will never, ever back off the throttle.
Full tilt there. You can see absolutely everything she's got. There's into the highest gear he's got on the bike. Behind him, it's going to be Flippy. Flippy Bart realized that once Brian had got through, he cannot play around with the boys anymore. He's got to get going, and it looks like his teammate is going to go with him.
Check out Williams. He's really plowed through a lot of traffic, so Williams has just done so much work in the early part of this race to get himself up there into a podium position. But this part of the track is where bike setup and gearing, most importantly, comes into play. You are at the top of the revs in top gear, and if you haven't got it set up properly, you're going to lose ground or you're going to make ground.
Water Ride Racing's Conor Meyer is up into 4th place. It's a good ride from him. Swanepoel behind him. Here comes Hannah Simon. I beg your pardon. It looked like he'd gone down, but actually his peak is still on there. It was probably just all the mud that was on that peak.
Simon, then Peterson. One of the youngsters stepping up into the senior side of things and showing well as well, because we seem to have lost Jackie Antigua. So as far as the lighties battle goes, Peterson is the man.
As far as the senior battle is, Zebra's the man. He's got ahead now of Sorrel van Biljoen. Van Biljoen having his own little problems out there, and unfortunately, he had to sort them all out before he could get going.
Jaco Venter, he's been pretty honest out there, staying within the top 10. hasn't been in the front group, but I think if he keeps his pace up, he should be able to tag onto the back wheel pretty soon. And then CVDV, Chris van der Westhuizen, the open class Storm Racing Honda man.
Consistent ride from Chris Fell as always, just keeping it all together as he heads into the Millie Fields. Here comes Reinecker.
Gideon Reinecker, CDV rider on the Honda, and then Busman. Look at him, just tucking, getting down there, trying to stay out of the wind, and definitely the fastest man through that section. I told you this was the kind of track that suited him, but I don't know what's happened. He's dropped off the pace. He needs to come back.
I was about to say, he's lost a bit of ground there, so something's gone wrong on Busman's bike. Maybe he got stuck in some of that fence as well. Leading master is still Yuri Meyer. And David Hollis, first shot we've seen of him, so he's made his way through.
Jose Roxy dos Santos, the senior battle and the masters battle is going to be huge today.
They really are pushing hard. Nice little hand up there. Looks like all according to plan. Clive Krauser. Haven't seen a lot of him this season. Good to see him back up and near the front end, but being closed down pretty quickly by a massive thumbs up from Andre Duplessis.
Duplessis drops off the pace as well, and Jackie Antigua, hand off the bars, looks pretty defeated. And then Tony dos Santos. So the dos Santos is out in thick force here today.
Run very, very fast out there, but you got the lead.
Yeah, it's great. Fell back in the beginning, picked up some wire on the axle. Managed to fix it up. Luckily, had the right tools on me again. Now we're only halfway. We'll see how it goes.
Getting pretty whipped out there.
Yeah, it's getting choppy. The bike's awesome. The Yamaha is flying out there. So I can't complain.
Heard you saying now you just need a 2-minute gap in case you have a flat or anything like that?
Yes, yeah, that's what we want to try and maintain. Don't want to overdo it, don't want to overpush the bike. It is really hard on the engines out here.
Flippy, very, very fast out there today,
Yes, this bike suits the track very well. Setting on Brian, so we'll see how the second loop turns out.
Quite rutted out there and whipped out after one lap.
Yes, very, but that makes it even more fun.
So fitness comes to play now.
Yeah, we'll see.
Top 5 overall, and that's pretty impressive on the seniors.
Top 5? No, I don't believe you. No, it's awesome, lovely. The rain's just perfect for me. Bike's perfect. I'm just enjoying it. See how far I can go. That's
one more lap to go now. Pretty whipped out, but
yes, that second time around this first loop, it was quite rough. Now we'll see now with the second loop, the red loop, see what happens. I'll just hope I get a bit of luck this time.
Doc, losing a little bit of time last time around, just getting all that grass out of your radiator, but coming back nicely now.
Yeah, rather safe and sorry. I try and save the motor from getting too hot, but it's just so fast. I mean, you set pin 5th gear, maybe make up a second or 2 or 3 a corner, but that's it. So we'll fight till the end and see where we end up.
Putting major strain on these motors.
Yeah, they work hard, so we actually take a bit more out of them than we should, but yeah, let's enjoy it nevertheless.
Oh, look how awesome this is. A big up to RP Reinecker for coming to join us here and giving us a helicopter to play in. We would not be able to get these shots without him. And I think even your chopper, RP, is going to battle to stay with the pace of Brian and Flippy.
That's the Bitfest Yamaha 450 bike, ragging it out front, and this is just held wide open. Long straights is what the Kalahari 400 is all about, and you've just got to have the perfect setup on the bike and nerves of steel.
And try not to miss any of the road crossings that lead you astray. Flippy, he has a Honda at full pace as well.
He runs in second place. He's actually closing things down on Brian Baragwanath out front because you can see a little bit of the dust. And believe me, that's not from the chopper, that's from the Yamaha. So we're going to have a Honda versus Yamaha, Flippy Bart versus Brian Baragwanath battle pretty soon.
And we go back onto the ground now, and just to see how quick these guys are actually going. Coming up to the road crossing once again. Quick look, well done, Brian. Leading out, but right behind him, Flippy Bart has closed him down big time, and I think he's closing him down even more as we speak.
All these guys got their green cross code books out. Look right, look left, look right again, then pin it.
Pierce Storm Racing Honda, absolutely perfect stuff for that man. Oh, this is a big turn up. Look at that, 3rd place.
Swanee is absolutely flying. There's been a big story in 3rd place. Swanepoel's been switching things out with Busman. Connor Meyer, the junior, has been up there. Waterite Racing man sitting down in 4th place, but still within striking distance.
It's an awesome ride there from Cornell Connor Meyer. Here comes Busman. Look at the body language. You can see he's not holding anything back now.
He made up a lot of time at the end of the last loop where he was flat out wide open and got his hybrid set up absolutely perfect out of Busman Racing. So we're going to be able to see if the Busman can really close things down. He looks happy and confident.
Hannes Simon also looking pretty good. You see like how many Suzukis are at the front end of this battle too.
These are all the 450s so far as well. That's the big story. We haven't seen the open class guys, which I thought would come to the front on a track like this, make their way up just yet. We're watching out for Chris van der Westhuizen and the like of to really unleash the big power of the bikes.
I'm watching to see where the Zebra gets up there too, because remember, he's on the slightly bigger machine. He's just behind here, and this is Chris Fell we're watching. He comes across.
Zebra is there on cue, still leading out in the seniors battle. And to be honest, on a track like this, it can be very hard for the rest of the guys to close things down.
Well, unfortunately, it was a bit of a throttle cable problem there for Sarel van Biljoen. He's got it sorted out, but now he's got to get back up and try and catch Zebra. We go back on board with RP Reinecker and down onto the racetrack. You can see, I mean, the helicopter's battling to stay with Flippy.
Flippy is stood up wide open, just trying to see how far up the road. That's why we're chasing him down. There is first place, just up the road. The Bitfest Yamaha of Brian Baragwana still leads out, but Flippy is closing him down. This is going to be a nail-biter, probably the closest finish we've seen all year so far.
Just loving the fact that it is so close. It's so good to see. And of course, coming up into the positions a bit further back there, Duplessis has fallen way off here. So a lot of work now for Andre, whether or not he can get back to the front and in contention for a top 5 and some valuable points. He says, thumbs up, I can.
I think if he kept his hand on the bar, he'd go a little bit faster, but that's just my opinion. I love to see the come from behind rides from these guys, and Duplessis can really hold it wide open when he needs to, but he's running out of time. Here is the big man on the open class Honda, Chris van der Westhuizen, out of Storm Racing, and he is flying.
Certainly is. New horsepower out there. No. Sarel van Biljoen? No,
sorry,
it's not.
It's Sandstorm Racing. My apologies.
I was thinking it's Sarel. It's actually Reinecker. So still no Sarel van Biljoen in shot yet. Gideon Reinecker and then Jaco Venter.
Venter's been real solid the whole way through. Good qualifier, kept his nose clean, stayed out of trouble. Hasn't really linked himself to any of the other riders, so he's had a lonely ride out there, and he's had no one to clear the way.
The Santos just behind Vince Loubser. No problems for Roxy so far. He's just keeping it smooth and steady.
Sarel van Biljoen on the comeback trail. And I seem to have said that so much today, but there's been a lot of problems out on the trails for many of the top riders.
Either getting stuck in some fences or the other thing is you're going to see, Matt, is when the guys are on those flat-out sections, they're going to give it everything they can. But every now and again, they'll just roll off, give the engine a little bit of a chance to cool down and to take it a little bit easier.
We've got to let it breathe. I mean, Busman, who is just a master of setting these things up, says we are pushing them past what they can do. So every now and again, got to give them a break. Back to the leaders.
And Flippy has made up that ground. He can literally just hook his bike onto the back end of the Yamaha and let Brian pull him around.
This is going to be all about strategy from now on, because Brian knows he's getting closed down, so what's he going to do? Carry on leading or allow the Honda to come past and see what the kid's got?
Just loving the fact that they are so close. We don't normally see this in quad racing. Your two leaders and the two men in contention for a championship getting so close and up close and personal, actually. Oh, Brian says, after you, sir.
Yeah, brake check. Now, I've led that section. Now you lead the next section. Third place is still a dice out between Busman and this man, Colonel Connemeier, the young upstart out of Waterride Racing. So impressed me this year. Very strong rides.
Yeah, a good team behind him as well, and some new sponsors coming on board with those guys. So Werner Perufsky is definitely doing a good job to make sure that the Waterride team are at the front end, and they are. There he is. There's proof.
You know what's nice to see is the fact that these guys started out as one of the Inkson teams, then they stepped up, they had a massive support team for the juniors. Now they're moving and stepping up and getting results in the senior side of things as well.
Just want to pull behind him. So he's just really trying to keep it as smooth as possible. Just taking a look at the back tire there. It looked like it was a bit flat, but it was actually just the way he was scooping up the desert sand.
And have we had perfect conditions for the Kalahari 400? Just enough rain to keep the sand down, keep it loamy, and just perfect traction for all the guys on the bikes and the quad side of things.
Now, the only thing that some of the riders were saying was that it was a little bit fast. I suppose that's off-road racing. It's part of the risk you take as a national competitor. And if you want to win championships, you've got to be able to go fast in these kind of conditions.
Back on board with our chopper shots. Flippy Bot trying to drop the hammer, trying to get the monkey off his back, and the monkey is named Brian at this stage. But Brian, you know what, he's got a lot up his sleeve, and no way he's going to let that thing get away.
I think those two are going to go at it almost all day. Looks like Brian's got to the front end once again now and pulled a bit of a gap. So somewhere on the track, he's found a little bit of an edge and got away from Flippy.
Yeah, Flippy looks like a little bit distraught there, trying to look up the road to see where the Yamaha is, and these guys are tired. Look at that crazy line. Those guys almost missed it. Third place, though. The battle is on. Busman looking over his shoulder. Has he got rid of the lighty?
Let's see whether or not Connemeier is too far behind. Can't see him just yet, but he can't be that far back. Jacques Strubig now up into third place.
That's Busman Racing on the hybrid. going out for a 450 result. He sits third place at the moment. Colonel Connor Meyer looks a bit tired by this stage. And you know what? It's not just physical fatigue, it's mental fatigue. These guys have had to stare down these roads at top speed all day long. It's just exhausting.
400 kilometers is what they have to do by the time they cross the line, so it definitely takes it out. Fifth place now. A good move here from Duplessis. He's made his way up nicely. Chris Fell has gone with him.
That's the mixture of manufacturers. We saw this in the bike side, so it's a nice level of this track. Obviously, on the technical stuff, we've only seen maybe 1 or 2 manufacturers come to the front. But on the wide open stuff, obviously, all the manufacturers can make a bike that is pinned.
Good gearing there from those riders too. Here's Hannes Simon. Matt, interesting enough, this man has got 1st and 4th gear. That's it. And he's trying to get to the finish.
4th is enough, isn't it?
Should do. It's the 1st gear that I'm worried about.
5th gear would be important. Now we're finally seeing the man in the open category come to the front. Chris van der Westhuizen, Sandstorm Racing on the Honda, the open Honda as well. In the wide open stuff, he is just wound up now, and his fitness regime is coming into play because he is getting stronger as the race goes on.
It's a little clean of the goggles there from Jaco Venter. He's also staying within that top 10 hunt. He's just outside at the moment, but with the way that this race has gone and the slight attrition early on, he might have a chance of getting into the top 10.
Vince Lopesha riding himself into fitness and riding himself into championship points as well, because he's still on the comeback trail from a couple of injuries from last year, and he is just bringing home the bacon every time he goes out.
Heading into the leaders one more time and back onto the chopper with Oppie Reineke as they fly down. I don't think Flippy is going to catch this man. Brian has got the gap. He's got enough of a gap now, and he should be able to maintain it to the finish.
Flippy still runs in 2nd place. No one's going to catch the Storm Racing Honda rider, but the story is he was leading, and Brian just outfoxed him, got off the front, and is checked out. He's round a corner. You can't see him. That means you can't catch him.
That's all you've got to do. Just get yourself out of sight of the rider behind you, and that's exactly what Brian's done. And Flippy's done the same thing, but that was because Busman and Connor May have had their own little in-house battle.
No, Busman's had a nice season so far as well. We're only around number 3, but he's up there on points, and the Busman Racing hybrid bike is holding together nicely. Last season, by this point, he was crying into his beer because he's just had no finishes, had problems with the bike, had problems with fitness. This year, he's got it dialed.
He had a much better season, that's for sure. Connor May is having a great first season and looking good here in the National Seniors.
Duplessis, who was part of that lead freight train in the early running, dropped off the back. He's been on the comeback trail, so we know that he's got pace on the bike and fitness in himself. And unfortunately, the race is just not going to be long enough for him to get up into the podium. But 5th place, it's all about points. It's a long year.
David Hollis been very quiet all day, but smooth and steady, and that's how you get to the finish. Consistency pays off, and even though he started way, way back, he has come through the field very nicely.
Not too far away from the end. Chris Fell also had some goggle problems early on, got that sorted out, but his body language and the throttle of the bike just tells me he is praying for the finish line to arrive. Please, please, please soon.
He's looking up the road going, it's only a couple of Ks. I know I can, I know I can. 1st and 4th, well done to Hannes Simon. He will get to the line and he will finish up on 2 gears on that machine of his.
Listen to that, it's a lot of clutch work going on, so the clutch is just going to be smoking away, and there'll be some work to do in between the scenes, between rounds 3 and 4.
And of course, round 4 now being changed up to Sun City. We're going to go and play at the Valley of Waves.
You know what, that means it's going to be a track that looks very similar to this. Flat, they may send them up into the hills, but the hills are pretty small, so they're going to be few and far between. I think it's going to be a fast track.
Chris van der Westhuizen looking to take his victory in the open category. If he stays where he is, that's exactly what he's going to do. But no one is going to catch this man. Can you believe the pace that he found somewhere on the track to get away from the Honda?
The all-conquering team of the proudly best Yamahas, and they are coming to the front every single time now.
He tried hard, but unfortunately was found wanting in the last part of the last lap. But here Storm Racing comes in 2nd place. And Flippy will go to the next round, trying to find out how he can beat Brian Baragwanath.
Honda is still well represented, and it's turning into the Honda versus Yamaha battle, with Busman and his hybrid thrown in for the mix.
Jacques Struby coming through in 3rd place. He'll be happy with that result. And it's always good to see the Busman on the podium.
So heading into round 4, watch out for him to get all the way to the top of the pile. This race, though, the Kalahari 400, was won out by Brian Baragwanath, coming all the way from the back on his Yamaha to take the win, ahead of Philippi Bart and Jacques Struby on the hybrid.
Ryan, bad luck's gone.
I hope so. I hope so. It wasn't easy today, but yeah, it was a great fight with Flippy. We had a good ride out there, lots of fun, very fast. Well done to the organisers. It's thanks to you guys that we can still race like this.
The chase is on the championship as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a long year.
450s, Baragwanath, Bart Struvic, Conor Meyer, Duplessis and Hollis.
Open class, only one finisher. It was Chris van der Westhuizen on the Honda.
The seniors, Vic Sebra winning out the battle, and he had a great ride on his off-road Revolution machine, and he looked really good, but unfortunately Sarel van Biljoen had to settle for second. DeSantos was up in third and Billy Roos in fourth.
Masters was the victory from Yuri Meyer ahead of DeSantos, Krauser, Visser and Thiessen.
In our ladies category, it was Melissa who was at the front end for a long time, but Shardry Monk eventually winning out. Van Rensburg in second, Anita Ace and Elisa de Kreef.
In the ever-popular silver class, it was Henk Sievenk who won out ahead of Alani Vandenberg.
Looking forward to Sun City now. These boys are going to go back into action as we get to round 4 of the Off-Road National Championships. And I think it'll probably be the same 4 boys at the front end.
This has been coverage of round number 3 of the National Off-Road Championships, the Kalahari 400.